This is the setup on this side of the stage. And we start first with the MIDI controller. The MIDI controller does not make any music by itself. Despite what he just did, the sound is all coming from Ableton Live. The MIDI controller, as he's playing it, is making the sounds come out from Ableton Live because it's connected by a USB cable to the laptop. But the difference of the next item, which is the keyboard synthesizer, which is the one in front, that one can make sound by itself. And that one makes sound by itself because it has sound generating circuits in it. The MIDI controller does not have sound controlling circuits. And there is reasons why we have both. The one that can control Ableton Live, all the sounds in Ableton Live are accessible. You can change the sounds in Ableton Live. But the keyboard synthesizer has its own sounds on board. And it's very immediate. Even if the laptop goes down, that keyboard synthesizer will be running. Okay. The other thing you see is a pad controller. The pad controller is running, in the case of our show, it is going to run samples. Each one of those lit up pads is playing a different sample. And that's also connected to the laptop by USB cable. That's why you see a hub there. Now, the audio is coming out of the laptop through an audio interface. So there are two laptops, you see two audio interfaces. The black audio interface is something special because in addition to the laptop sound, which is coming from Ableton Live, there's also a microphone plugged in. And there's also an instrument plugged in. And this audio interface, it does two things. As Irung said earlier, it's like a GPU for sound. It does the audio processing for your laptop so that the sound quality is better and it's less strain on your CPU. The other thing it can do is it can bring sound into your laptop. Over the weeks, many of you have asked, how do I get my sound into the laptop? And you look at your laptop, there is nothing to put sound in. The microphone that you use for your Zoom calls is a built-in hidden thing somewhere here. You can't plug a guitar socket into it, right? No matter how hard you hammer. Yeah, no matter how hard you hammer, there is no way you can plug a guitar port into this piece of plastic. So you need an audio interface like that. The audio interface comes out at the back like this. It connects by USB to the laptop and it connects by the 1/4-inch cables to the mixer. Meanwhile, the front of the audio interface looks like this. This is the input level for channel 1. You notice channel 1 has a funny looking input because you can plug in the XLR cable, the one with 3 pins. You can also plug in the 1/4-inch cable, the one with 1 big pin. And then the XLR cables is a balanced cable. So you can have long cables, or you can also, it avoids the amount of noise. And the 1/4-inch cable is what you use normally for instruments. So the gain knob is the one that's the input level for channel 1. The other gain knob is input level for channel 2. So if you can't hear, that means you must turn it up. There's also an output level to the mixer, which is the big silver knob. And there's a headphone volume knob if you plug in headphones. Because remember, people use this also on your desk. And also there's a high Z, high impedance button when you want to plug in a guitar or other instrument which requires high impedance. Guitars require high impedance. Just remember that. There's a technical reason which Irung will tell you later, but you just remember, use this for guitar. Also, plus 48V is phantom power. You use it for condenser mic. Again, there's a technical reason. Irung will tell you later, but you just remember, use this for condenser mic. How do you recognize a condenser mic? It's the one where everybody shouts, "Don't drop it, it's a condenser mic." That's how you recognize. Now, the next slide has a lot of labels. Okay, I warn you first. The next slide has a lot of labels because the next slide is the mixer.
Oh, it's not scary.
So for those of you who are used to this, it is absolutely fine. In fact, once you understand the basics of this, you will understand the 24-channel version which is in the studio. Because the 24 channel is this is basically 10 channels, right? So the 24 channel is just this times 2.4. This is a mixer with power. Off the left end, there's actually a power socket, right? Sometimes you all wonder, how come when I press the on button, there is no light, it's because you didn't plug in the power. Yeah, right? Sometimes you plug in the power to the extension cord and you didn't switch on the extension cord. Sometimes you wonder why the extension cord has no light, because you went to the mains, you didn't plug in the mains. Secondly, you look at the extreme right end, there's a lock and unlock button. That's actually something you can unlock using a 5-cent coin or a 10-cent coin, because the whole mixer can be taken out of the speaker so that you can put it somewhere where you can access it easily. Then you can take the speaker and put it on the speaker stand and mount it high up. If it's mounted high up, you don't want to try and mix volume level while you're stretching like that. It's very uncomfortable. So you can unplug it. All the power, electricity goes into this mixer. The speakers themselves have no power. The speakers derive their power from this mixer. This is a powered mixer. We start from the first one. Again, XLR, you can recognize the little thing that looks like a smiley face, right? The 3 pins is the XLR input. You can plug in a microphone to it. There's also a 1/4 inch input. So you notice that the vertical channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all mono. You can plug in mono instruments like a guitar, or you can plug in our synthesizer keyboards. Our synthesizer keyboards can actually output in stereo, but usually output in mono is good enough. If you have a lot of channels, take them stereo. Sounds very nice. But if you're going live in an outdoor environment, mono is already sufficient. Yes, and for that note, you will notice that at the back of the keyboard synthesizer, it's plugged into the L mono. Please don't plug into the headphone jack. The next one is the stereo 1/4 inch. So you notice 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 are all stereo pairs. That's where you're plugging in the laptop, because one side is left and one side is right to give you a stereo sound. And you notice that 5 and 6 are 1/4 inch, 7 and 8 also have the RCA inputs. So you can plug in one of those like cables which you actually just direct from headphone out. Or if you, does anybody know what a DVD player is? Or a CD player? You've seen those before? Yeah. You could plug those kind of devices in. Yeah. I won't even ask about cassette tape. Now, when you plug them in, make sure that you see the button there that says mic and line. If you're plugging in a mic, please make sure that the switch is on mic, otherwise you can't hear anything. On the other hand, if you plug in a line, and anything which is not mic is line. Anything which is not mic is line. Therefore, a synthesizer is line. Okay, so make sure that those are online, because it'll be too loud if you leave it on mic. So make sure that is switched correctly. Also put limit, not compressor. If you have it on compressor, you will have the very sad effect that we've had before with EML, where we go and play a show, and then just as we hit the best part of the song, the drop, da 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 da, then it compresses everything down. Then suddenly the whole song has gone down by 3 dB. Like, oh, it's like really no. At the peak, the thing compressed because it was so loud. Okay, like. When this happens, right, and you're on a stage, wow, it's not good for your mood. Yeah. Leave it on limiter. Limiter prevents the thing from blowing out, but it won't compress it. So the next round are these things which are high and low. These are EQ. High is your treble, low is your bass. So if you want it to sound sharper, you turn up the high. You want it to sound more bassy, you turn up the low. But usually leave them at 12 o'clock, because everything has already been done in the mixing of it. Normally, everything has already been done properly in the mix. Unless you're in an environment where, it turns out that the venue you're at seems to be very bassy, everything, all bass is all coming back to you, then you can turn down the bass. Or you find that everything seems too muffled in the space that you're in, you can turn up the thing a little bit, but that's really a last resort. Everything can be fixed on the laptop. Within Ableton Live, you can fix the EQ there. So usually leave them at 12 o'clock. Now this one. You see what it says there? Please all say together. Always turn down levels before plugging.
Yeah. And then some of you all might ask, turn down for what, right?
Yeah, so if you do not turn down, the reason why you turn down is that if you don't turn down, when you plug in, plug out, switch on, switch off, you'll go pop. You'll damage the mixer, damage the speakers, damage your ears. It's truly damaging. Okay. That and the master, the red one at the end, all please turn down levels before plugging anything.
If you're lazy, you can just turn down the master and plug in because it just kills everything.
Yeah, the master.
But generally make sure the whatever you're plugging.
So also these level buttons are very interesting. You will notice that if the level is turned all the way down, you will hear nothing. So sometimes when you're like, I can't hear anything, then you will actually somebody turn down the level and didn't turn it back up again. So after you turn it down, when it's time to perform, please turn it up. Like, okay. There are also little notches there. You see a little notch there is very helpful. Try not to go above that notch. Louder than that, it begins to get distorted. Our venues, usually we have scoped it out. The speaker is enough for that venue. Yeah. Any louder than that, you'll be ears bleeding, nose bleeding, eyes bleeding. So you don't need to. Wait, this one. There's a button on this particular mixer, speech or music. What we're doing is music, so please leave it on music. There is a monitor out. It controls a second pair of speakers. If you notice that up here in the corner, there are actually two jacks. There's actually space to put a second pair of speakers. We don't use them usually because we didn't have money to go and get another set.
But actually on stage, right? And for those of you all at Singapore Art Museum, if you notice on stage, there were those what are called wedge speakers facing up on the floor, pointing up towards us. Those are your stage monitors, and that's where you will plug them in.
Yeah.
Because you have the house speakers, which are these, which are pointed towards the house, aka the audience. But then you have monitor speakers because you need to hear yourself. Right now we have a setup where the room is small and the speakers we can afford to put them behind us, so you can kind of hear to the beat. Not really necessary to have monitor. But in an ideal stage situation, and I believe in the actual monitors, right? Yeah, we will have actual stage monitors. So in that situation, that's where you plug them. So it's basically a copy of whatever is going to the main mix, and then just sent towards you, but it's meant for a performance.
It really helps when you have monitor speakers to hear what you're playing, right? Then this left and right is to send out to a recorder. If you know, well, that's not really relevant to our thing because everything will be recorded. Yeah. So remember this one, the last two things. Please connect them to the speakers. I don't know how many times you've done a setup and they say, hey, how come this? Why no sound? Because you all didn't connect the speakers. Like, wow, okay. If you don't connect the speakers, there's no sound.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? So this is what it overall looks like. Okay. When it comes to I always record the lessons, but this part I will not record because this is our secret sauce. Okay? Okay, secret sauce. This one cannot tell people.